Hi, I'm here with Lauren Foster, who is going to be joining us for WAMFT 2021 with her presentation, A Place in the World, Connections Between Housing and Mental Health. And so welcome, Lauren. I'd love if you would share a little bit about your presentation.
Sure. We'll be doing the presentation, so it'll be a few hours, and we'll talk a lot about the connection between housing, particularly housing instability, what that has to do with MFTs altogether, right? And then what unique attributes MFTs can bring to, something that we're all going to see one way or another, right? Whether it's our clients that we know have some level of housing instability, or those that we're not quite sure, and how that kind of affects all of us. And again, what MFTs can really bring to the table, how we can help, and how traditionally we have worked with families who, are on the margins and things like that. So, and I'm hopeful that it'll be really insightful for folks, and that it would be helpful to their practices, and to, whatever other work that they might be engaging in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thank you for that. And so what do you think MFTs specifically can bring to dealing with families on the fringes, like you said?
Yeah, so MFTs are really, really wonderfully trained in systemic thinking, right? So that is kind of our bread and butter. And other mental health professionals, wonderful, awesome, amazing. But MFTs with that eye for systems and how systems work together can really help families who are dealing with housing instability, because we're already thinking about, okay, how does this connect to this, connect to this? How do these larger systems impact, the ones on the day-to-day basis that our families may be facing, right? So things like they're having to deal with landlords on a regular basis. What are the landlords having to incur? And then how do they all have to function together in this sort of microcosm of community? What does that community look like, right? What resources are available there, things like that. So I just think, generally speaking, systems theory is going to really, really lend itself well to the ways that MFTs can really help to work. And because as MFTs, we can be advocates for lots of our clients. And again, having that systems lens on, we can really go into oftentimes a lot of these institutions and help them to better see what our families are going through, kind of other ways that are possible to intervene and to work with families.
Well, I have to say, Lauren, I'm really excited that you're going to be pulling us into the other systems that we don't often spend time with our individual clients and families. And so thank you for actually helping us apply Bronfenbrenner's bioecological model. And so I wonder, how did you get into this? What sparked your interest in housing instability?
So it's a very strange and convoluted story, but it kind of boils down to having my own lived experience with some levels of housing instability, but still growing up in a fairly middle class neighborhood. So that interesting dichotomy of me straddling two very, very different worlds. And then fortunately finding in my PhD experience, a professor who was working with families who were living on Section 8. And so being able to work with them in lots of different contexts, right? So doing family groups with those families, doing individual work with them, and then eventually doing some research with a housing authority that they were involved in. I was really able to come into this world, and it's actually, again, quite interesting. MFTs aren't typically in that field, right? But being there, seeing the impact that we can have as MFTs was really, really beneficial to me, and was extremely eye-opening for sure.
Yeah, wow. Well, that's so exciting. I know that I'm speaking on myself, but also on behalf of WAMFT, of how thrilled we are to have you as our pre-conference speaker. And I think it's going to be fantastic, and all participants are going to walk away with a lot of really applicable information. What do you think that the one most salient teaser piece of advice you could give MFTs is?
Ooh, I don't think MFTs give ourselves enough credit for how much we can do, right, outside of the therapeutic, or outside of our office space, let me say that. The work that we can do in any space can be really therapeutic, but it doesn't have to look like traditional person to person, right, kind of work. And so I think that's the really big thing of like, how can we make our impact even bigger than what it is, right? We've got MFTs who are going into so many different spaces. And so why not use our training and our wisdom and our talents to make these, really big impacts, especially with seeing everything that's going on with housing, right? And how difficult it is to have and maintain stable housing. Why not be able to really sort of stretch ourselves into to make an even larger impact?
Yeah. Oh, I love that. That's so inspiring. So I don't know how I'm going to wait until the presentation. Lauren, I so appreciate you taking a minute to talk to us about your presentation and what led you to it. And we are so excited to have you on September 24th. Give us the presentation, A Place in the World, Connections Between Housing and Mental Health.
All right. Well, I'm excited to be there, excited to speak with everybody.